On a process.
It's been almost a week and a half since Tamara Davis's son was taken from her, and on the day she should have been celebrating being a mom. Davis says her only child left her house and never came back.
I'm dealing with the best I can because I'm still waiting to see my son walk up the street. They gave him a hit for Mother's Day.
This Thursday, reality will begin to set in when she'll be allowed to view her son's body for the first time.
As a mother, it's hard, and I spoke to God, I gotta let him go. And I'm fighting with it.
Her 30-year-old son, Qidere Johnson, is known to Philly and around the world as LGP Qua, a rapper, yes. But even deeper than that, he was a poet, a storyteller, known widely as the voice of the youth.
My son was light. I knew he was gifted.
On a quiet Sunday afternoon in Philadelphia, the streets of Juniata Park were alive with the familiar rhythms of Mother's Day gatherings. Families stood on porches. Cars slowed along M Street, music spilling into the warm air. Then, without warning, the noise shifted. Witnesses later described the moment as abrupt. An interruption sharp enough to turn heads and send people stepping back toward doorways. Two figures appeared on the block, their faces hidden, their pace deliberate. In the second that followed, a chain of movements unfolded quickly. Words exchanged, a sudden reach, and the sound that changed the scene entirely. Neighbors peered from behind curtains. A few phones were raised, recording fragments. Somewhere up the street, a third person waited, engine idling. By the time the noise subsided, the crowd that had gathered minutes earlier was dispersing. Some rushing to cars, others frozen in place. Within minutes, police vehicles lined the street, lights flashing across brick facades. Yellow tape cut the block in two, sealing off a patch of sidewalk where officers moved methodically, marking the ground with number placards. Conversations dropped to hushed tones. Names began to circulate, passed from one person to another, though nothing was yet confirmed. The incident, timed against a day meant for family, would soon draw attention well beyond the neighborhood. What had started as a celebration had shifted into a developing investigation. One that would involve security footage, multiple suspects, and unanswered questions about what led to the confrontation. By nightfall, city officials had issued their first statements, careful in their wording. For now, only fragments of the timeline were public, and the complete picture remained just out of reach. If you enjoy real crime stories that uncover the truth, don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps us share real cases, spread awareness, and give a voice to those who can't speak for themselves. Before we begin, let us know in the comments, where are you watching from? And what are your thoughts as the story unfolds? Welcome to True Crime Uncovered, where we examine the cases that shake communities and expose what happens behind closed doors. Real stories, real people, real impact. Subscribe now and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Qidere Johnson, known professionally as LGP Qua, was a Philadelphia-born rapper.
I said, listen, to all the boys and little girls, I hope you listening. I'm about to school you to this country that we live in.
Whose career began in the mid-2010s. The initials in his name stood for Let's Get Paid, a phrase reflecting both ambition and branding rather than a specific criminal association. His earliest public recognition came from self-recorded freestyle rap videos posted on social media. These videos quickly gained traction due to their clear articulation of issues affecting Philadelphia's urban communities. Rather than focusing solely on entertainment or personal lifestyle, Johnson's music addressed youth violence, systemic inequality, and challenges tied to poverty and limited resources. His lyrics contained references to real events and conditions within the city, presented in a way that appealed to younger audiences while also catching the attention of educators and activists. Johnson was frequently seen at community gatherings, rallies, block parties, and school visits where he performed and spoke. His collaborations included appearances alongside local anti-violence advocates. These activities positioned him as more than a music artist. He became a recognized figure in civic spaces. Media coverage often described him as a voice of youth, a label that carried influence but also increases visibility. His presence in both online platforms and street-level community events made him a recognizable figure to a wide cross-section of the city. Can an artist's public advocacy make them more of a target, or should it offer them protection? On Sunday, May 11th, 2025, Johnson spent several hours with family and associates before traveling to the Juniata Park section of Philadelphia. His movements that day followed a pattern familiar to many residents on holidays, visiting relatives, socializing, and appearing in public spaces with friends. At the time, Johnson was wearing several pieces of visible jewelry, including gold chains. These items were a consistent part of his public image, but also items of high value that could attract unwanted attention. The intersection of M Street and East Luzerne Street is situated in a mixed-use area. Residences occupy most of the street-level buildings, but small commercial properties, such as convenience stores, repair shops, and takeout restaurants operate nearby. The pedestrian activity in this area is moderate, with more movement on weekends and public holidays. Though not classified among the city's highest crime neighborhoods, the area has recorded isolated violent incidents in previous years. Businesses and some residences maintain exterior surveillance systems due to this history. Street lighting is present, but coverage varies from one block to the next. Prior to the incident, Johnson was seen on foot in the area by multiple people. Some spoke briefly with him, while others noted his presence from a distance. Investigators later obtained surveillance footage from a nearby business, which appears to show him speaking casually with two acquaintances. No conflict is visible in the footage, and his demeanor appears consistent with casual interaction. The fact that the suspects reached him in a short time frame has led investigators to examine two key questions. Was the location pre-selected by the suspects? Did they have prior knowledge of his exact movements? Answering these questions would help determine whether the incident was a targeted attack or an opportunistic robbery. The incident unfolded in a matter of seconds. According to investigative records, two masked individuals emerged from a vehicle that had been parked within sight of the target area. Both suspects wore dark clothing, gloves, and face coverings, concealing any distinguishing features. Their movements were described as deliberate and synchronized, suggesting prior coordination. The suspected motive was a robbery of gold chains worn by the victim. Investigators later noted that such items are commonly targeted in fast, high-risk street robberies due to their immediate resale value. Once the suspects closed the distance, the confrontation escalated rapidly. Multiple gunshots were fired in quick succession, striking the victim before any defensive action could be taken. The sound of the gunfire caused pedestrians nearby to scatter in multiple directions. Several witnesses took cover behind parked cars, while others retreated into nearby storefronts. No evidence indicates that any return fire came from the victim or bystanders. This detail suggested to investigators that the attackers had full control of the encounter from the moment they exited the vehicle until their departure. Following the shooting, the two armed individuals turned and ran toward the vehicle that had delivered them. A third individual, positioned in the driver's seat, had kept the engine running throughout. As the suspects entered the vehicle, it accelerated away from the scene at high speed, moving toward an exit route that minimized contact with traffic control points or cameras. The first official response came within minutes. Units from the Philadelphia Police Department, already patrolling within a short distance, arrived to secure the scene. Paramedics with the city's EMS service followed immediately. Medical personnel initiated treatment at the scene before transporting the victim to Temple University Hospital, where he was pronounced deceased shortly after arrival. With the attackers positioned in the area ahead of time, observing the target and waiting for a precise opportunity, the investigation began at the scene and continued through multiple parallel tracks: forensic evidence processing, surveillance data analysis, and witness interviews. Crime scene technicians recovered multiple shell casings from the sidewalk and roadway. These were cataloged, photographed in place, and later sent to the department's firearms unit for ballistic comparison against the National Integrated Ballistics Identification System, IBIS database. Detectives canvassed the surrounding area for any operational cameras. Video was collected from local businesses along M Street, residential doorbell cameras within line of sight of the shooting location, city traffic monitoring systems positioned at nearby intersections. Footage revealed the approach of the suspect's vehicle minutes before the shooting and captured partial images of the attackers exiting the car. Although their faces were obscured, investigators noted their height ranges, build, and certain unique movements. Police interviewed multiple individuals who had been present at or near the scene. Witnesses provided descriptions of the suspect's clothing, the vehicle's color and make, and the direction in which it fled. Investigators cross-referenced these statements to identify consistent details. Descriptions gathered from witnesses matched the visual evidence from surveillance video. Two assailants on foot, one appearing slightly taller than the other. A four-door vehicle with a dark paint color. Coordinated timing between the shooters and the driver. The getaway car became a primary lead. Investigators ran a search for matching vehicles within traffic camera databases and local registration records. Within days, detectives confirmed that a vehicle fitting the description had been captured on multiple cameras before and after the shooting, including one location several blocks away that provided a partial license plate match. This data, combined with additional neighborhood camera footage, enabled the identification of the registered owner and potential driver. To accelerate public cooperation, the Philadelphia Police Department issued a $20,000 reward for credible information, leading to the arrest and conviction of those responsible. Public service announcements about the reward were broadcast through local media outlets and posted on official department social media accounts. Hotline numbers and anonymous tip submission options were made available to reduce barriers for potential witnesses who might be reluctant to speak openly. In high-profile urban crime cases, how much influence do reward offers have on encouraging community members to provide actionable leads? At this stage, the investigation relied on three primary evidence streams: forensic data, ballistic matches, fingerprint or trace evidence from recovered items, digital surveillance, footage providing visual confirmation of suspect actions and vehicle movement, human intelligence, witness testimony, informant tips, and community reports. By combining these elements, investigators sought to build a timeline of the suspect's movements before, during, and after the shooting, as well as to connect the individuals involved with physical evidence tying them to the crime scene. The investigation into the shooting quickly moved from initial evidence gathering to targeted suspect identification. By late May 2025, law enforcement publicly confirmed that two individuals had been taken into custody in connection with the case. Both faced charges of murder and related offenses. Forensic analysis played a key role in linking at least one of these suspects to the crime. Fingerprint evidence recovered from the suspected getaway vehicle matched records already in law enforcement databases. This match provided a direct physical link between the individual and a critical piece of evidence. The connection was supported by additional corroborating material, which has not yet been fully disclosed due to ongoing legal proceedings. On August 7, 2025, authorities apprehended the third suspect, identified as Amir Early, age 21. The arrest was carried out through a coordinated operation between the U.S. Marshal Service and the Philadelphia Police Department. According to official statements, Early attempted to flee from a residence at the time of the arrest, but was detained without further incident. All three suspects were formally charged with murder, conspiracy, firearms violations, and robbery. Law enforcement has not ruled out the possibility of additional individuals being involved, though no further suspects have been named publicly. With three suspects in custody, is there still a possibility of more accomplices? Following their arrests, each defendant appeared in court for initial hearings. In all cases, bail was denied by the presiding judge. The decisions were based on severity of the charges, the strength of the preliminary evidence, and concerns regarding potential flight risk. Defense attorneys representing the suspects requested additional time to review the prosecution's case. This request was granted, citing the volume of digital and forensic material collected during the investigation. Among the evidence disclosed in preliminary filings were surveillance video showing multiple angles of the suspect's movements before, during, and after the incident, eyewitness testimony from individuals who were present on the street and inside nearby establishments, ballistics analysis connecting shell casings found at the scene to a firearm recovered in the possession of one of the suspects. The next steps in the legal process include preliminary hearings where the court will determine whether sufficient evidence exists to proceed to trial. As of the latest updates, a trial date has not yet been confirmed. In complex criminal cases, even when visual and forensic evidence appears strong, court proceedings can be prolonged. This may occur due to legal challenges, motions to suppress evidence, or extended jury selection processes. How often do cases with clear video evidence still result in lengthy trials? Shortly after confirming the arrests, the mayor of Philadelphia and the city's police commissioner issued public statements. Both condemned the incident, referring to it as a priority case of the city. The police commissioner highlighted the coordinated efforts between multiple agencies in bringing the suspects into custody. The mayor referenced broader public safety initiatives aimed at reducing violent crime. In the weeks following the incident, multiple public vigils were organized across Philadelphia neighborhoods. These gatherings, attended by residents, community leaders, and local organizations, were intended to show solidarity and address concerns about recurring violent incidents in the city. Locations for these vigils included both the immediate neighborhood where the shooting occurred and other areas linked to the victim's life and career. The victim's profile in the music community led to notable responses from fellow artists and industry figures. Several posted public tributes, many of which also referenced the ongoing challenge of street violence. While some messages were strictly commemorative, others pointed to systemic issues and questioned whether enough preventive measures are being implemented. Does public pressure from high-profile deaths influence policy changes in cities? In 2025, Philadelphia's law enforcement agencies released data indicating that violent crime remained a pressing issue in several districts, though the overall homicide rate had seen a slight decrease compared to 2024. Robberies, particularly those involving firearms, persisted at levels similar to previous years, with some neighborhoods showing concentrated clusters of activity. The data revealed that while certain categories of crime, such as aggravated assaults, had modestly declined, firearm-related robberies accounted for a significant proportion of the city's violent incidents. Law enforcement officials pointed to the presence of illegal firearms, the resale of stolen goods, and gang-related disputes as recurring factors influencing these statistics. The Juniata Park area, where the incident occurred, was not identified as one of the top 5 hotspots for violent crime in the city. However, it had experienced intermittent spikes in armed robberies and shooting incidents over the last 3 years. Analysts noted that these spikes often coincided with warmer months, increased street activity, and public gatherings. In the years leading up to 2025, Philadelphia saw multiple incidents in which local artists and public figures became targets of robberies or shootings. In several documented cases, victims were approached in public spaces while wearing high-value jewelry or other visible luxury items. In late 2023, a local DJ was robbed at gunpoint after performing at a neighborhood block party. In early 2024, another Philadelphia rapper was injured in a shooting outside a recording studio, with police later confirming the attackers took personal items from the scene. In mid-2024, a fashion influencer was targeted while leaving a downtown restaurant. Security footage captured the theft of watches and chains valued at over $50,000. These incidents share common traits. The public figure's movements were known in advance, the attack occurred in a familiar or frequented area, and high-value possessions were visible. Investigators in those cases noted that assailants often monitored social media activity to track potential targets, identifying both location and timing. The pattern has raised ongoing questions within law enforcement and the community about whether high-visibility individuals face disproportionate risk and what preventive measures, if any, should be taken at an individual or policy level. Should public figures alter their behavior in high-risk environments, or should safety be a given? As of the most recent updates, police confirm that there are no further suspects being sought in connection with this case. All identified individuals believed to have direct involvement are in custody. The Philadelphia District Attorney's Office is preparing the prosecution's case, which includes assembling witness testimony, finalizing forensic reports, and organizing the presentation of surveillance footage for trial proceedings. Law enforcement officials have not disclosed the full extent of evidence collected, but have indicated that the case file contains both physical and digital components, including ballistic analysis, vehicle tracking, and digital communication records. Evidence review. Prosecutors examine all materials gathered during the investigation to determine admissibility in court. Witness coordination. Civilian witnesses and law enforcement officers involved in the response are scheduled for testimony. Expert analysis. Forensic specialists, including ballistics experts and digital analysts, prepare reports that will be presented during proceedings, motions, and pretrial hearings. Defense attorneys may challenge certain evidence, and the court will rule on what the jury may hear. The prosecution is expected to argue the evidence establishes a coordinated effort between all three suspects, supported by surveillance footage, forensic matches, and the sequence of events documented through witness accounts. Despite the progress in the case, several key questions remain. While the robbery of visible jewelry is the primary motive identified by investigators, the possibility of additional factors has not been publicly ruled out. Questions remain about whether any prior interactions between the suspects and the victim could have influenced the decision to target him. Police have confirmed the recovery of at least one firearm linked to ballistic evidence from the scene. It has not been disclosed whether all weapons used during the shooting have been located, leaving open the question of whether additional firearms remain unaccounted for. Authorities have not released full details regarding the suspect's prior criminal records. If any of the individuals have histories involving similar offenses, this information could be relevant both to the case at hand and to understanding broader patterns in violent crime within the city. The absence of clear answers to these questions contributes to the ongoing public interest in the case and leaves room for speculation about whether all relevant facts have been brought to light. In cases with clear evidence and multiple arrests, what factors still leave room for doubt? This incident exists within a wider context of urban violent crime trends, particularly those involving the targeting of high-profile individuals in public or semi-public settings. The Philadelphia Police Department has emphasized that while progress has been made in reducing certain categories of crime, opportunistic and targeted robberies remain persistent. The case also illustrates investigative challenges, determining whether a crime was planned or opportunistic, tracing the origin and flow of illegal firearms used in such incidents, identifying whether suspects acted entirely independently or as part of a larger network. As the trial approaches, the key points for observers will be how conclusively the prosecution can establish motive, whether any additional accomplices or facilitators are identified through continued evidence review, the weight given by the court to forensic and surveillance evidence in securing convictions. The eventual outcome will contribute to the ongoing discussion in Philadelphia and in other cities about the vulnerability of public figures in urban environments and the balance between personal freedom and precautionary measures. If you found this story as gripping and heartbreaking as we did, don't forget to like this video and share it with others. And if you want to hear more true crime stories that uncover the mysteries behind these tragic events, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest stories, updates, and discussions. Thank you for joining us on this journey to seek justice and explore the truth. Together, we can make a difference. Until next time, stay safe and stay aware.